Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. I'm back again with another camouflage test. This time I'm joined by SDK Weber. We're going to be comparing Multicam, which I'm wearing right now, PhantomLeaf, a specific variant of it. I will put the exact name of it on the screen right now, as well as A-TACS FG, specifically the Russian variant, Green Moss, using one of their masking suits there. And we're just going to be doing a bunch of tests, a bunch of different distances and a bunch of different scenes. This is the second camouflage test I have done. The previous one was of the JSDF camouflage, and I did learn one thing from then, and that is to camouflage the hat, because the brim gave it away pretty bad. So what I have here is just my usual Multicam Bundeswehr style hat, but I have camo netting tied around it that I just picked up really cheap from Gray Shop, and this will help, I believe, to cut up the outline a bit.
Now it's going to be fun. We're going to have some fun out here. We're going to be at different ranges. Let's see if you can spot us before we move. And also it's kind of fun. I was watching on some of Brent's videos. They did one in the deserts of Nevada I thought was really cool because it's so similar in many ways to here. Is once the guys would stop moving, if you just looked away for a bit, you maybe pause that video, just look away a little bit, and sometimes you look back and now, hold on, I can't find them again. Because the camo was so effective, again, they're being still, but you thought you saw them, you did see them, you know, then they stopped and maybe took a little bit of cover and you looked away purposely, give it a chance, and you look and say, well, I'm not sure where they are again.
Mm-hmm. I'm planning on leaving us moving between positions in, just so it's not so jumpy, but if you do try that, just looking away for a bit, it's sometimes pretty impressive how much someone can just disappear.
Yep. Well, about ready to head out and do some tests?
All right, let's get started.
Yep. We want to move just on your belly a little bit, like we're going to try to shoot that camera. So just kind of like move your belly out just a little bit so you got a clear shot at that video. Yeah, just enough. I'm going to do the same. You now get up into a kneeling position. Pick out a place that you could take some cover behind. Yeah, I'm moving right now. breakup, you know, type of thing. Now we're going to move. Clump of sagebrush. Here, I'm going to move. Now we'll move forward. Oh, you're over there? Yeah, I'm just going to see if the person loses me, see?
I'm standing currently.
Uh-huh. Go ahead and move toward it. I don't know if I'm in. We'll move into it.
Okay.
move up. Scouts behind. And now we'll walk into it.
So we're back from that camouflage comparison. The very first thing I wanted to do, although this is going to be a little bit kind of jumping around, is we talked a lot about a lot of specific points about these camouflages in the intro, but I cut it out because it took a while and I wanted to just get to the video. I hate long intros. So I'm going to play that very first right now so you understand a bit more of what we were doing and a bit more of the specifics, especially about this PhantomLeaf here, because it's a pretty interesting camo, pretty new camo that there isn't a whole lot of information on. So next, SDK Weber, how about you tell us about what you're wearing and go over a bit of your setup here.
Yeah, I'll start top to bottom. I'm wearing a UF Pro Boonie. I really like, this is an engineered hat. It has venting in the front to let your head cool off a little bit. This is also a PhantomLeaf. It's hard to find a good Boonie hat at all in a PhantomLeaf. But this is a different PhantomLeaf. This is the PhantomLeaf green, you'll notice on the top. But for this area that I spend a lot of time in, I wanted the PhantomLeaf brown, this one that I'm looking at and wearing for the rest of my camo. But what I was able to get is very similar, this netting type of stuff, this material that looks like leaves, and it is in the PhantomLeaf brown. So I just wove those into the Boonie hat itself, and it also then helps to break up that outline. So one of the important things with camouflage, when I was in the military, we practiced lots of different stuff, and some of the things that we learned in, especially in the games that you'd play, is the quality of camouflage is one thing. You got to have some decent camouflage, but being still is really important. If I'm wearing the greatest camouflage in the world and I'm waving at someone, people are going to see it. It doesn't matter, The other thing is, don't be shy about using the vegetation right where you are. That makes a tremendous difference. So I could take a little bit more vegetation,
building it in
right around here, and that's what these are for. Build them right in here. Watch out also for linear objects. In other words, it's very odd in nature. Nature is very roundy, very highly textured. You don't see too many very, very straight lines of any sort, whether it's horizontal or vertical. Everything's kind of this. And so if you can break up that human outline where people can't see that, that makes a big difference. Now this camo I thought was really cool. It's hard to find good camo.
Yes, it is very hard. That is something we have found, especially you, because you were looking at a bunch of different camouflage patterns. There are some really good camouflage patterns out there, but a point I wanted to touch on specifically is it's not, even if it's the greatest camouflage pattern in the world, it actually isn't if you can't end up finding it. So you said you were looking at Pencott,
yep.
Which you can find, but the problem is you don't want to go with bottom of the barrel, just like standard BDU type of pants and BDU shirt and all that. There's much better clothes out there in different patterns. In the case of this is all Leo Kohler that he is wearing. I'd have just a bit of older multicam on, but of course you can get multicam in Cry Precision, and they make excellent stuff there. Yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about with that?
Yeah, well, I looked for Pencott. I watched a lot of Brent's videos. Yep. Great videos. We're kind of doing some stuff.
Inspired by him.
Yeah, but we're here in sagebrush steppe country, a little bit different stuff. And I specifically wanted to try out this PhantomLeaf because I think it's going to work really well in this country right here. The Pencott, I think, looks like a great camo. Con camo looks like some very good stuff. But the problem with Pencott is the only stuff I could find was almost like blue jean type of material for airsoft and through Amazon.
Yeah.
A couple of things I was looking for is a good quality pant. So I wanted, some cargo pockets. I wanted a nice material. This is a ripstop material. I wanted the built-in knee pads. This has got very nice built-in knee pads. This has got built-in gaiters.
And if you look, to go back to the knee pads for a sec, I will do probably a separate video. I'm thinking of doing a new gear considerations on pants video very soon. But these specific Leo Kohler pants, I should mention, they have actual pads. When you compare those to Cry style, which is what I'm generally used to wearing, they have an actual hard cap, and you can get soft caps as well, but they have an actual insert that you put in. They're still an insert. You can take them off to wash it, but they're covered, you can see, fully, and it does have some advantages, which I don't want to get too sidetracked by, but there is some benefits to having a fully covered knee pad.
Yeah, and I bought this shirt because a person's going to be wearing a plate carrier over it, also camouflage, which I will be using when we go out and do our tests.
Yes, and I'm wearing a plate carrier as well currently. You can see an olive drab. Personally, I found mixing some multicam with olive drab, especially in sagebrush country, as we mentioned earlier, it helps really well because it's not fully arid here. It's a semi-arid environment. But I'm probably going to take this off later and just, test some with the plate carrier and some off, just to get a big, just to see a bunch of variations.
Now, the science behind camouflage is just amazing today. Camouflage really hasn't been around that long in military type of applications. I guess we first saw it a little bit. The Marines during World War II, not too much. The Germans during World War II, there was some stuff like that. But now it has become just a tremendous science where, what they're talking about this pattern here, you don't really see a pattern. There's patterns within patterns within patterns. And the whole idea, just like the con camo, it's designed to confuse. That's what the con comes from. And that's Leo Kohler also. Yes. Same idea. It's going to confuse the eye. You might see something out there. Does that look like? Is that a person? No, it's not a whole person. What is that? And it is a whole person. That's the really cool thing about these new camos that are coming up.
As a side note, I do a lot of grouse hunting, and one thing I found that is interesting is, of course, animals, even though if you see a picture of them, they don't seem like they would camouflage that well, but if you actually see them out in nature, they do camouflage really well. And one thing I noticed that I think is interesting is a lot of the patterns on this reminds me very, very much of how a ruffed grouse looks.
Right there.
Yeah, especially this right here. And then, of course, as he said, it does have kind of a disruptive pattern where it's never like one thing in any specific area, but it is kind of interesting that they went with that, I find. Okay, so hopefully that gives a bit of a better understanding, especially about the PhantomLeaf, as I said, and just in general. So, one other thing I wanted to mention is, I know at some points it looks like we're in super deep cover, but we are, at all points, I made sure that we are both in line of sight of the camera, so as long as we can actually look up and see the camera, that way it's not like we're completely concealed. So the first thing that I noticed that's pretty interesting is pretty much all the time you'll see both of our, or actually all the camos, both the A-TACS FG or the green moss, the multicam I'm wearing right now, as well as his PhantomLeaf, they all looked a lot darker than the environment when we were actually moving, but they actually still blended in pretty well, in my opinion. And would you say that as well?
Yeah, one thing that I noticed, and especially I picked up on when I was watching Brent's videos in the arid environments and all those different camos he was using, including what you're wearing right now.
I did test
the multicam.
Well.
What I noticed is that I could always pick things up really well when a person was wearing something really light. There was some arid camos that were being used, and I'm like, well, there it is, and there it is, and there it is. But the darker ones tended to blend in. I don't know if it was the shadows or the shrubs or those kind of brush that was out there, and it actually was a better camouflage.
Yeah, generally, having a slightly darker camouflage than the environment, it still works really well because the eye is naturally averse to looking at dark colors. It's more drawn to light colors. Major issue that popped up in this video is my shamag that I was wearing. I was specifically wearing that shamag because I don't have arid face paint. If you go back and watch my JSDF camouflage video, I have woodland face paint and it works great, but nothing light colored enough, so that's why I was wearing the shamag. Turned out that that was way too light colored, and that really stood out. You'll probably see that more than the rest of my entire outfit during all of that. However, in the very last scene, I did kind of watch through a bit of this footage when we were out there, and I did switch to a balaclava. I actually have an olive drab balaclava. little bit darker than that environment, but I would say that from that really blended in extremely well by comparison.
Yeah, that was much better, and it can go too far the other direction too. When I was wearing the masking suit, essentially the A-TACS FG masking suit, that veil becomes so dark that your eyes like, what is that large, almost black blob?
Yes.
And that was a giveaway. That was a giveaway for that. And there was another problem with that. It's so light and wispy that any little movement it wanted to come out from being tucked in, and then of course if there's some movement, a little bit of wind, because it's so light, it gives it away. So that was a detraction of that whole camouflage outfit.
Yeah, when we went out and did this, there wasn't a whole lot of wind. There was a little bit, and even just a slight gust was enough to take it out. Or just walking, just a little bit of shifting would want to push that out. So that wasn't great. And then of course if that starts blowing around, that becomes very blatantly obvious that there's someone there if you have that veil.
Or at least it would draw a person's attention to it.
Certainly. Another thing I noticed, and as I mentioned as well in the intro part that I cut into the conclusion a bit earlier, I did test some with just my belt, so pretty much just seeing this tan, and I did notice that this actually blended in really well. I was pretty impressed by that because, as I said, semi-arid environment, I would usually expect that kind of layering a green along with this would blend in, and I didn't notice any particular issue in either case with the green or with the tan, but this did do a lot better than I was expecting. I thought this would be a bit too light colored actually, but actually yours is a pretty similar color as well. Maybe
yeah,
yours
just
is
a
slightly
shade
more
darker, but normally a solid color is worse. That's why we'd use some breakup type of colors, but it didn't seem to cause a major problem.
And the plate carrier, although it is, or at least my plate carrier, his is multicam, but although mine is a solid green, just having, pouches and everything like that on that does also help to break it up because it's just an irregular pattern. Same with having Molly on it and all that. Not perfect, but you get the idea. One other thing that we did test is, I'm going to probably overlay it right here, is we tested thermal a little bit. Do you want to talk about how that went?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised at how that went. Now, the way that thermal camera works, that's a FLIR camera, and it was set to white hot. So the hotter the object that we're imaging, the brighter white it's going to be, and dark is a black, so it's cold. But it was 80-some degrees out there, and what we were picking up as the hottest on that video is the soil. The soil was the hottest. It was bright, it's a very light soil out there, and that's what we were picking up. So that's almost an advantage for a person in that environment because the person didn't just stand right out.
Yep, blended in pretty well with that. A few caveats with that is we don't have super high-end thermal, so I'm not sure if it would look any different with a better thermal camera or with a scope, that sort of thing. But it is worth mentioning, at least at that current temperature, it was pretty hard to... So I wasn't the best hidden to the naked eye, but you saw in the thermal footage, it was pretty hard to actually make out that I was right there. And that thermal footage was taken from directly above me, just a few feet away. That covers it for all of these camouflages. I personally think Multicam did quite well. I think all of these went quite well, with the exception of the veil on the masking suit. I think the masking suit, though, in general, in that A-TACS FG green moss, turned out very well. Would you say?
Yeah, I agree with that. They both turned out really nicely. I'm very happy on how these Kohler PhantomLeaf turned out. I have no problems with them, no complaints at all. Very comfortable, number one. Yeah, I think it worked out really well. One of the things I did change kind of halfway through is the placement of this boonie hat. At first I had put the veil over the top of everything, but that kind of gave a dome type of appearance.
And that also made it stand out more, because that is, although it's a circle.
It's too regular. Yes. It's too regular in shape. But then what I did at the end is I put this hat over the top of the veil, and it worked really well, even when I laid down about 15 yards probably.
Yeah.
From where the camera was located, and if you looked away or if you just came upon that situation, I don't know that a person would have picked that up.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So that concludes everything. Last thing, where can people find your channel?
Yeah, it's the SDK Weber channel. We do a lot of what we call extreme reloading. That's my channel, and if you're into reloading, want to know some things about reloading, just look for that on YouTube.
And I don't do a whole lot of that, but it is a good thing to know, so I would highly recommend, if you're interested in that, to go check his channel out. It's linked below on my channel at the very bottom, and I'll put a card up here on the screen as well. But that really is it. Hopefully you all found this informative. Thank you for watching, and take care, and see you all in the next one.